I didn't see a response from Cal, so let's see where it goes. Mars.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Spin Rack. I'm here with my boys, PD and Cal, and boy, this is going to be an episode. PD, start it off.
We are back with some more news from the world of Superman.
Yes!
Let's check in with DC publisher and chief creative officer Jim Lee to see what's happening with Superman in comics right now.
Yes!
Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying DC fandom as much as I am. I'm here to share news about Krypton's favorite son,
Oh, that smile! That smile!
AKA
I know that
Superman.
smile.
Right now, in the pages of Action Comics and Superman, a major event on War World is building.
What is
the
it?
War World Saga, which promises to be the biggest Superman event since the death of Superman. After
Oh my
learning of an
goodness.
enslaved race with
Oh, they
mysterious
killed Superman, all right.
Superman leaves Earth behind and travels across the galaxy to dethrone Mongol and liberate the people on War World. From writer Philip Kennedy Johnson and artist Daniel Semper. Action Comics 1036, yes, 1036, is the first issue in the War World Saga and will be available at your local comic book shop on Tuesday, October 26th. This is a story you definitely don't want to miss. And since Earth still needs a Superman to protect it while Clark is off fighting for the people on War World, John Kent, the son of Clark and Lois Lane, has picked up the mantle of Superman here on Earth in Superman, Son of Kal-El, from writer Tom
Yay!
Taylor and artist John Timms. This is a
that's
different,
issue number
younger
5.
Superman who's figuring out how he wants to fight for the future and who he is as a person. You may have recently heard the news that John Kent's relationship with reporter Jay Nakamura will be formalized as John comes out as bisexual in issue number 5.
Well, I guess that ends the
We couldn't be
relationship
prouder
part,
to tell
right?
this important story. We talk a lot about the power of the multiverse in DC storytelling, and this is an incredible example. We can have John Kent exploring his identity in the comics, as well as John Kent learning about the secrets of his family on TV in the Superman and Lois TV show on CW. I have one more bit of Superman news to share first with you, the fans. We're excited to announce that to better reflect the storylines that we're telling across DC and to honor Superman's incredible legacy of over 80 years of building a better world, Superman's motto is evolving. Superman has long been a symbol of hope who inspires people, and it is that optimism and hope that powers him forward with this new mission statement. Truth, justice, and a better tomorrow.
All right, cut!
Stay
Cut!
tuned for our DC fandom.
Cut!
Okay, let's hear what you got to say, Mr. Superman himself.
Ah, finally, the thing I've been asking for. Truth, justice, and a better tomorrow.
What kind of...
It kind of works when you think about it because you want to have a
I
better...
don't believe this. You're
sure.
on board with this? You're on board with this un-American, anti-American sentiment? You're on board with this? You gotta be kidding me.
There's no anti-American sentiment in me. I strongly believe in the whole American way all the way. But a better tomorrow for our kids, I think that's a great one.
How are they to say this? How do you know that the American way won't bring about a better tomorrow?
Who says
Okay.
it wouldn't? I think it's still the same thing. I think
No, it's not the same thing. This is craven. This is about playing to as many demographic markets and not having to worry about backlash. They don't even use the phrase. They don't even use the phrase in any form of media any longer. They haven't used it in the longest period of time.
Exactly.
So what's the sense for the change?
They want to update it. I don't see a problem. with that.
Update it from what? You're not using it. The same thing, up and away. They use that strictly in the comics every so often. The Action Ace, which is another Superman nickname, they don't use that. Okay. Truth, justice, and the American way is part of the character that it's used intermittently. This type of change is more of that nonsense virtue signaling at the end of the day, but it's also unabashed American shaming at the end of the day, as if somehow the American way, there's something wrong with it. Hey, I get it. You don't think America is the greatest country on the planet? That's fine. I don't think any country could really take that particular position. But when you abandon the ideals of the American way, which Superman is supposed to represent, what you're saying is we can't get there. He's supposed to embody the best of those values. And what are we going to do? We're going to put that on ice until we have a tricentennial, and then it'll be cool at the end of the day? No. If you honestly believe in that, then you stick with it, okay? You tell stories to exemplify that more, and you don't just abandon it like a bunch of craven people just looking to play in all the markets at the end of the day. Just totally unabashed nonsense. That stuff with John Kent, we're going to see John Kent exploring himself. If John Kent was straight, how much exploring himself will we see of John Kent? Not a damn bit. It's all so craven. It's also lowball at the end of the day. And then they come here smirking at you as if you don't know any better, as if you don't know what exactly it is that they're trying to do. Come on, man, get out of here with this nonsense.
Okay, so I'm not going to speak on the John Kent issue, which makes no sense to me, being that John Kent was Superboy in a very successful run with with him and Damian Wayne, who
Yeah,
still
he was 10 years old.
Huh?
He was 10 years old in that series.
Exactly. And now they're going to make him, they just literally jump him from that to someone who's making a decision like this, which I totally disagree with at this stage with that tech character. If you wanted to do something like this, you should have brought in a whole new character. But coming back to here, A Better Tomorrow. I am 100% for the truth, justice, and American way. I totally think that's a classic thing. I think the American way is probably one of the best ways in the world, period. But this is a corporation that needs to sell. They need to sell Superman. They need to sell them all over the world. And not everyone in other countries, such as the French, are down with anything saying the American way.
Then they can go, you know what the French can go and do, all right? All right, you know what the French can go and do, because when their butts were in a sling, when their butts were in a sling, they had no problem with the American way.
Oh, that's true, but that's been quite a while now. Now we are in the...
Oh, no, you don't. You don't even have, there's no quite a while. Your existence as a free country is owed to the fact that people decided, you know what? It's worth us sacrificing our young people on the front lines to come over here and help you. And now you got an issue with us because of politics? You can get bent. That's how that works, okay? You came over, you helped us during the revolution, and I always defended the French for that anytime somebody said something. I say, no, the French didn't come and help us. We wouldn't have been successful in the American Revolution. We repaid that favor. And now you're going to give me some nonsense about if I show a Superman movie, you say the American way, you're going to come, oh, I cannot get into the movie because of the American way. You can get bent at the end of the day. All the stuff that we take that's French and international stuff that we love, and we're supposed to believe that people will reject Superman of all things, because of the American way. You know, Mars, I'm going to actually concede something to you. Batman, they do Batman much, much better, because they just go, they tell some stories, they may make some cosmetic changes to Batman, but they seem to be more concerned with actual storytelling when it comes to him, because the character is fully fleshed out. Superman, everything they do is a fundamental change. It's always a fundamental change. We got to change the costume. We got to change the motto. We got to get this guy to kill somebody. We got to muddy him up. We got to try to make... Where's the story about heroism? Where's the story about the greatest force for good in the DC universe? And instead we're so happy to tell you that Superman will no longer stand for truth, justice, and the American way, but a better tomorrow, because that's what you've been beating down the doors for the last 40 or 50 years. Nobody has asked for that. We have asked for some good stories. Can't get that. Everything's always a fundamental change with these people when it comes to Superman. They have no idea what to do with this character, and they persist in demonstrating that they have no idea what to do with him.
You know, and I agree with you there. I think that there's a big issue with that, and how Marvel was able to treat Captain America, who sticks to his principles, and they basically stick to the basic principle of who Captain
they went to Cap. They went against Cap, and when he said he don't know anything about the internet and dumb stuff like that. People get cynical all the time.
Right, but I'm saying that Marvel has always stuck that Captain America stands for this particular way. Even when the government is against him or whatever, he always stands for the freedoms that we stand for, until people remember that. And here's a difference where you know, the character, the basic trait of the character is attacked constantly, you know, because I guess they're just trying to find a way to make money off it. They're just constantly trying to figure out how can we make Superman more profitable for us. So
they're trying to take Mickey Mouse, and then they're trying to take the teeth out. That's what they keep doing. The same how Mickey Mouse went from character had like a little bit of an edge to him, and they chop it off as much as they can, just sanding down and soften it up as much as the thing is the part of the dream part really, as Cal already said, doesn't come into play because it's not something that would be a regular thing. It'd probably be something you'd see on a poster or something like that. But then you don't even, if you're worried about that, you don't even have to do it. You could just move on and just have an iconic picture of Superman. There are many of those, but they're just saying, hey, over here, look at that. We're not American way. We're not American anymore. He's for everybody, which he was already for everybody.
Are they gonna have a moratorium? Are they gonna have a moratorium on Superman taking pictures with the American flag or with an American eagle on his arm? We're gonna do that too.
The thing is DC has constantly done this. And the Marvels, they constantly they want controversy. So the whole thing with Jonathan Kent, the whole thing with this is what they do. Is it better for the character or the character to do something like this? Is it better for the story? No, these are just points to make the sales, right? Now you're going to put in the American way, not the American, Better Tomorrow, and then that particular comic is going to sell like crazy, and you're never going to see that again.
It's not going to sell.
You're going to bring in
it's not going to sell.
With you're going to bring in Jonathan Kent.
Can we actually do a story with
it's not going to sell. They did that. See, here's the thing. They already tried. They went as hardcore as you could to try to fundamentally change Superman with the New 52, and it didn't take. They did a lot of stuff with that. We're going to change the outfit. We're breaking up the marriage. We're setting this guy back to ground zero. We're getting that stuff so we can try to get this guy to the point where he's closer to another character that we have an easier time with, a la Batman. It didn't work. Superman is the first character I have ever seen where they have done something like that, and they had to go running back to the original version. They had to kill off the new version. You know, they had to come with all this story to come over here and bring that guy back on the stage. So you brought him back on the stage, and you still haven't learned your lesson. You still haven't learned your lesson. They did this before where they tried to say, oh, Superman was like, I'm going to reject my American citizenship because, you know, I'm tired of being seen as a political tool of this, that, and the other. He got so much backlash that they couldn't stop putting images of him in the comics next to an American flag. They had one issue with Obama was president at the time saying, Superman, your country needs you now, in order to say, no, this is still an American character. So that wasn't that long, well, I guess long enough for them. And now it's the same thing. Let's try to get away from these particular things. No, he's an American character. Okay, he's an American icon in terms of a character. That's inescapable. It doesn't matter if you change this or not. So why are you going to change it? And then the controversy that you're getting. This is controversy that's going to get people to read the books. This is controversy that's going to allow you to push this particular character. It's Superman. Everybody knows who this guy is already. Tell some damn good stories. The worst thing about it is they had Peter Tomasi and Dan Jurgens on the books. The books were selling. They were being produced twice a month. These books were selling solidly just based on the storytelling. They pulled them off to put the new guy Bendis on. The sales didn't necessarily go through the roof. Okay, but they're still tinkering around with the fundamentals of the character instead of just saying, look, this guy is the ultimate hero. That's what we need to show there at any particular time. That's the stuff that people get, and that's the people that want. They know that he's safe. They know that he's got all the power in the world, but he's coming to help us. He's the one alien that comes to Earth and actually wants to protect us. He can do anything within the confines of doing that. Let's go crazy with that and show them how cool it is to be a hero. No. We're not going to do that. We'll do all of this other stuff instead of bringing the reason why this character has resonated for 80 plus years at the end of the day. And they do it with a smirk. They do it with a smirk at the end of the day. That is the infuriating thing. You just did this 4 or 5 years ago and it didn't work. And now you're coming back for another bite at the apple. For what at the end of the day? Just tell some bloody good stories. And even when you're telling good stories, that's not good enough. You still want to come over here and create controversy. Ridiculous.
It's all about the sales, baby. All about the Benjamins.
All about the news, getting into the news. This both of those things are both stunts to get into the news. And maybe you'll go in and say, wow, now I can read Superman. Oh, now I can read what's his name, the son of Kal-El. When it's like, at the same time, if you think about it, you go from the 30s to the 80s. Well, I guess he's kind of dating Lois in the 80s before the crisis happened. You know, I think they're dating Superman and that sort of thing. There's all this thing where the relationship was a chase. You got like 25 years of it being a chase, and then when the character is exploring their gay side of bisexuality, they're like, they immediately bang. There's no struggle to it. It's just like, hey, we have to have this thing when it's like Lois was chasing after him in the newspapers and the comic books, not scoring anything, turning down Clark Kent, and they don't have a lick of that in the books of saying, hey, they're not even trying to do a real thing. They're just trying to do, hey, let's do what they did in Marvel with where they ruined North Star. We're just like, hey, he's just a normal guy and he wants to be married and all that. No, that's not his character. But anyway, I think not much more to say about that. But it's just a stunt. It's just a DC stunt, and didn't even be in here. So
it doesn't progress the story, as far as I'm concerned, anyway. And just taking Superman off of Earth so they can give Jonathan Kent. I think they had a great thing with Jonathan Kent being Superboy.
Yes.
New characters coming in. And Cal has said this in the past. A great thing with the whole him and Damian team up, where you have, him following his father's footstep and Damian, being Damian himself, Damian Robin. And I thought those are some fun comics. You see the two of them, how they react to things and how they do things. And I think those are great beginning comics for non-comic book fans, particularly young boys and young girls too, but they just shot it. It seems that they don't really care about that type of stuff. If you don't develop those characters that can appeal to different things, here you're basically saying, I'm going to go to a very niche group, and I'm going to explore it to everyone else. Because they're basically trying to, because the kids are not going to read into that. It's going to be the adults who probably end up buying it if they buy it at all. So
they didn't have to age him up, because if we go back to
again, you can't have a kid that age being.
Why not? That's the thing. The whole thing of, if we go back to post-crisis during after Man of Steel, when they had the Pocket Universe, they showed you that Superboy is is so powerful, he can handle things all by himself.
Yeah.
So it's like, why not just you're not stuck in any sort of post-crisis thing. You're a whole new setup. He could be that powerful, be able to move planets. Why can't he just do it? He says, all right, and then you get him to make, when he's a kid, you can have him make some mistakes, that sort of thing, some learning on the job, because you have Damian doing his own thing as Robin, like he's doing his own sort of stuff, and like Batman's leaving him out there to be like almost full-fledged superhero. It's not like, well, if Batman leaves, we can't send Damian out there, so why not have Superboy be the guy who's helping Earth during this period? And then, because you can't play, you'd have an underage person trying to explore these ridiculous bisexual storylines. That's why we have to age them up.
Of course, and they're doing it also in the TV show. Let's not forget. So this is one thing.
In the TV, what's the name? Wait a second.
That's what they said too. They said it's going to be both in the CW and in the comics. So that's what they've decided to do.
Oh, wait a second. One of his sons in the CW is going to be bisexual now?
In the CW show.
I kind of threw it out of my mind. Keep going. Sorry.
Cool. So, I mean, you could bring it.
Say what you were supposed to say. I cut you off. In the CW show, what?
He's in high school.
Huh?
They're both in high school.
Okay.
In high school. So it's like, I think he's younger than his brother.
No, they're twins. Having these feelings?
They're twins.
They're twins. So that I think it's like their first or second year of high school. So it's, that it all could be problematic in and of itself. So
well, the whole idea with John Kent that I advocated for and I fought for was that he was a new character and he was a kid. DC was the home of the child superhero, and they decided, no, we got to get rid of them. Like, no, these are the characters that people can get into from the ground up, and you've got more leeway with them. Okay, adults are supposed to have a certain amount of things together. It's not so much that they don't have their lives together, they get thrust into these powers, and that may change some stuff. But you're supposed to know right and wrong at the end of the day and not be going over with it. At least the DC heroes were pretty much, as people, these were paragons anyway. And then when they got the power, they were just, they were still paragons. They just had the ability to do even better stuff than they would have normally done. Hal Jordan is a great fight pilot, but he's also a really good person. And when he gets the Green Lantern ring, it's pretty much more of the same, but he's ready for that. When you have the kids, you can come over. It's like, okay, they're still, got the learning curve and they're getting this type of stuff. Maybe with the exception of Superboy, who's just like a paragon, from start to finish, with some exceptions. But you looked at the Super Sons, and it was great because you were getting all of this great stuff with the two of these guys, watching them grow up. And the other thing that you were also getting, which people didn't realize, is the memory of what it was like to be a kid, what it was like to be a boy and hang out with your friends and do this type of stuff. And that is another draw that they always seem to forget, that, that portion, not nostalgia necessarily, but to be able to connect with the character on the memory of what childhood was like is still something that you can sell and tell very good stories about. It's one of the reasons why adults can sit through Disney movies if they're done correctly. So they had a whole bunch of that stuff going on, and then they decided in one issue, it only took one issue, thanks to Bendis, that they were going to age John by 7 years. And according to him, this was always the plan. Okay, so I'm going to age this kid by 7 years in the confines of one story, so I can end up having him explore his bisexuality, which I thought was crazy when I heard it. That was the end result of this. That was the great story idea that you had for this character. And again, you have the Super Sons was selling. People liked it. People liked it. People who said, no, I don't think Superman should have a kid. They were reading this and they said, well, maybe I was wrong. Now they're all looking at me like, yeah, told you. See, told you. Should have never been married. Shouldn't have had any kids, so on and so forth. And what can I do other than shrug my shoulders at this point? With the egg on my face for that. But then I'm like, I have never seen a company that loves to drag defeat from the jaws of victory. You got something that's winning? Hey, let's muck it up. Let's just muck it up. It's just, so frustrating.
So it feels like
they're still doing, they're still doing Super Sons. They're going to be a 2022. There's supposed to be a CGI movie coming out. And I think
why? What for? Adventure to the adventures of John Kent before he realizes that he really loves. What for?
He's got to become. Then Damien already did it for Tim Drake, so they can't have.
Screw the pooch on that one.
Can't have Damien. They can't have Damien go gay. So
Damien is too popular. He's part of the Batman family, so I doubt they're gonna make that rocket.
Yeah, he's doing. But that's the thing. Batman is so popular with DC. They're not willing. This is the opposite of what would have happened back in the 70s, 80s, or even 90s. Batman is so popular, they don't want to tinker with Batman. They're like, no, we don't want to mess around with that. We don't want any needless controversy. Superman, however, they're like, damn, we got to get people talking about Superman. What can we do? And it's got to be something, controversial. We're going to depower him. We're going to, we're going to depower him. He's going to renounce his American citizenship. And they've been doing this for well over 20 years. If you look at anything you could go back and just do a quick Google search, Superman controversy, of all the things that have come up with DC, and none of them have been storylines that resonated with people. People didn't read the book more because he renounced his American citizenship, or because they rebooted him with the New 52, or because they dissolved his marriage. Okay, people actually came back to the book when they decided, hey, we're going to ground him we're going to ground him once again in what made him the foundation of the DC universe. It's so frustrating.
When you have a character, and I think where they've treated this Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy has been a bit different, where you have two characters, definitely adults, and that's been a pretty popular thing in the DC universe, with those two going in, together and stuff.
Let's not go there.
The Harley Quinn stuff, her show is one of the top shows.
I'm not saying it's not, but then they're like, it's so successful, let's now tack on this other thing. Hey, you know what? They probably were like this. We just couldn't say it. Like, come on, man.
I don't know about that. It's just pretty.
He was successful. Now we're throwing this thing in. Why?
I don't know. It's troubling, but it's like, I don't know.
But Harley Quinn, they want their cake and they're gonna. They got their cake and they're gonna eat it too. Because you got Harley Quinn in the mainstream DC universe. She's not doing anything with Poison Ivy. Then you got the then you got the cartoon. She's living it up with Poison Ivy. Then you got the Black Label comic where they're doing some more of that. But then they also have her in the DC superhero girls. I would love for one of these moms to say, oh, what you want? You want a Harley Quinn doll? And I'd say, Harley Quinn's a lesbian, right? She's running around with Poison Ivy. She's doing what? She was doing what? So they're having their fun with that one. They're like, oh yeah, but they're not going to mess with that. Okay, they're not going to mess with that, but they would love to be able to do something like that with Superman. Look, we got him over here, we got him over here, we got him over, but that's not who the character is. And it's either you're up to the challenge or you're not. And if you're not, give it to somebody who can do something.
All right, so I think we kind of covered this. Anything you want to add to this, PD?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I mean, I'm not. It's. I think the bringing them in as a kid, then jumping ahead, and then continually jump ahead really sort of goes to what you're not supposed to do in television. And then comics are like, yeah, no, they did it with Robin. We did it with these other characters, and it's just like, but they would they give him hell for it, but then now it's like, no, when we want to do it, it's fine. So I'm not really for it, and it kind of went too far with what they're trying to do, because they're not selling us on the character. They're just selling us on, this is already set in stone. There's no sort of build up to this thing, even if it was done decently. It's not. It's just altogether a stunt. It's it's just, it feels like by committee. So that's all I can say about it.
It feels to me like, they had the idea, hey, why don't we make Jonathan this way in the TV show? Hey, why don't we also do it in the comic book? That's how it feels like. That's because they don't always, the things that happen in CW doesn't always match up to what happens in the comics. It usually is reverse, where something happens in the comics and it will trickle down later to the TV shows. And so it doesn't feel that, like you said, probably by me. I don't know what's up. But it's a loss. I mean, like I said, they're coming back out in next year with a movie with Super Sons, and they're supposed to be dropping a special comic book also next year with the Super Sons. And you're like, what the hell is going on? I mean, come on.
With what's his name? Superman, the son of Kal-El, and his little buddy Damian. How'd you get so old, Damian? Oh, I guess in the cartoon they'll keep them the same age.
No, they're gonna make them kids.
Yeah, they're gonna be back kids again.
It's mind-boggling. I have never seen people do this. You have something that's successful, people like it, it's working. Hey, I know. Let's stop it. Hey, what were the numbers on this? Oh, the numbers are great. What should we do? You know what? Let's make it so we can't do this anymore.
Yeah, I know. It's just crazy, bro.
So, closing it out, Mars.
I like Jim Lee much better when he was taking a 4-day nap and was just there trying to get his money on his commissions.
Well, you got a family to take care of.
When they had Bendis there,
Take care of your family without taking care of the Superman family, if you understand what I'm saying.
Then later, while we're here, because we did do Jim Lee, let me just skip to a thing we can finally end this. Because he says something about being slow. And I was just like, he was known as the, a decent artist of decent speed, and then at least one comic book a month. And then now he's just like, being a slow artist, and that distinction is usually used for who is it, like Art Adams or that sort of thing. So let me just.
Oh, those are quality artists. Anytime I think slow, I think somebody like you know what? I'm not going to cast any aspersions at anybody today. I'm going to just reserve my disappointment for these directions.
About how many how much stuff they can get out at once. That's usually the distinction of it, not as far as how good it is or not. So it's not necessarily a negative term, but
well, there's slow. There's some guys I know who are slow but good, and then there are guys who are, just slow at the end of the day.
All right, here we go. Let's see, I turn this thing up. We're going to talk about the possible thing, because it connects with the TV shows. Seemingly, we're not sure, but let's see what's going on here.
All right, so Jim, fans have noticed that you've been posting some awesome artwork leading up to DC Fandome. And we, of course, have some very keen fans who are trying to piece it all together, see what it might all mean. So what can you tell us?
Yeah, look, we wanted to create something kind of fun for the fans to engage with. It's essentially a puzzle. I've drawn 12 images, each celebrating a specific DC moment. We're revealing the final 4 right now during Fandome. And so if you take all 16 and rearrange them and kind of squint, hopefully you will see what we have been building up to. And it is the iconic cover from Crisis on Infinite Earths, #1, drawn by one of my favorite cover artists, George Perez, 1985. And yeah, it's a fantastic piece of work, and that is what this mosaic approximates.
Is squinting an official instruction or rule to figuring out how this all comes together?
Absolutely, because look, I wanted to make it hard enough so that people didn't immediately recognize what the cover was. So I basically used elements and drew in characters that approximated those shapes. And at the end of the day, if you squint, it should work. But the dead giveaways are the panels that say Crisis on Infinite Earths, and we saved them for this moment so that we wouldn't spoil the surprise or the puzzle for the people that have been working on it.
Well, it sounds really cool, and I am so excited to take a look at this with all the fans watching right now, too. It sounds like it took a while to put this all together. How long have you been working on it?
Yeah, look, you know how slowly I draw. So it's been, we've been working on it for a couple months.
Also, I love that you're like, you know how long it takes me to... If I tried to draw anything near what you draw, it would be like 3 years, and I'd have like, there's one line.
Sure. No, absolutely.
Doesn't look like anything to me.
Well, look, it wasn't just a drawing. I also had to make sure that the drawing approximated this overall kind of iconic image, right? So that was the challenge.
So now that we've got some more revealed, what does it all mean, Jim?
Yeah, so that is the $64,000 question, if I can date myself. But at the end of the day, it is the so that the fans is really see.
What?
That's awesome, but you do know that it's not just you and I here talking. There's like literally millions of people watching us right now.
Yeah, you know, we'll fix it in post, right? Is that what they do? Right?
Yeah, we will.
No problem.
We'll fix it in post.
Bleep everything. Yes.
All right, so since Jim doesn't want to reveal all of the secrets right now, I think you gave the fans some great stuff, so they're going to come up with their own theories, because I know that's what we all like to do. And speaking of fans, let's pivot to some other fans.
This is art. I don't want to get in sort of fights.
Is that Candace Patton next to him?
No, that's somebody else.
Oh, that's the other girl?
I'm not sure. Do you know her from any other shows?
I thought there's usually, I forget her name, but she's been attached to DC for the longest bit. So I think that's her.
What are your thoughts of this possible new Crisis from DC?
I hope the Crisis comes and undoes everything that they have done wrong in this last week. Take it all away. Please, take it all away. Make the hurting stop.
I don't know if it makes sense. They did DC. They did, what is it? When they did the DC, when they did the Superman, was it 24? No, 52. The new 52.
Yeah.
The 2 years later, they did. What was the next change in that? Rebirth, and now a third thing. I don't know.
This is nothing.
That's two big changes in a pretty short span. So.
Oh no, they've done this type of stuff. They did Crisis, and then after Crisis, they did some tinkering here and there, though it wasn't an official name. And then what do we get? We got 0 Hour, and 0 Hour wasn't really too dry before we got Infinite Crisis. Then we got Final Crisis. Okay, and mind you, that was just for the DC universe proper. If you were a Superman fan, they kept rebooting him like every 5 years.
Yeah.
And then you got the new 52, and Rebirth wasn't a reboot. Rebirth was not a reboot. The only character that really got rebooted with Rebirth was Superman. That was the only one. And then his origin affected, other people, so on and so forth. I think they were supposed to do something, but, stuff happened between Didio being gone and this, that, and the other. But a lot of these plans that we're looking at with John Kent, filling in for Superman and this type of stuff, these were part of what Didio was planning to do with what they call 5G, which is supposed to be the 5th generation of the DC superheroes. And he left, but a lot of those plans, I guess, were already in the pike. So, we're talking artwork is already being produced and people being paid for this stuff. So this stuff has to come out in some form. And then they did Infinite Frontier and Dark Knight's Death Metal, which was another sort of reset, saying that all of the history of the D&D universe was now in play. But a crisis usually means a harder reboot at the end, well, a reboot of some sort. And right now, these guys need it.
And what about? Don't forget the one with Jeff Johns, the
Doomsday Clock.
Doomsday Clock. So I thought they were going to do a reboot.
I'm trying to forget that.
Doomsday Clock was supposed to do some stuff, but because it was so late, and then you have Scott Snyder doing his own thing with the death metal, and Bendis making certain that he makes more, he learns how to make friends and influence people by rubbing them the wrong way. It lost any of the cohesive, it lost any of the place it was supposed to have because of the lateness. Rebirth was supposed to be a 2-year thing, and it was supposed to end with Doomsday Clock, and Doomsday Clock was almost a year late. And here's again the kicker: people liked Doomsday Clock. That was a great selling book for DC without any hoopla. People tuned in to read that book, and it was something you could have built off of. And these guys are like, no, we're going to go this way. Plus, you got DC being acquired by AT&T, and then supposedly they're not with AT&T. Oh, we're here, even though we still own this group. It's just wild at the end of the day. Too much nonsense going on. And there's a better word for it, but I can't swear because this is a family show.
Yeah, it is a family show. Thank you for that. So, I mean, Petey, what about your thoughts?
I've been Crisis out for a while. As a kid, the Crisis just meant they were just dealing with an issue, and then people from the other Earths would come together. Since I guess it was 85 when they did Crisis on Infinite Earths, that means we do a big thing that has some sort of ramification, right? So you had that. I think Legends was initially going to be Crisis 2 of the Soul, but that wasn't going to have any ramifications on the whole DC timeline. But then as you go, as Cal already said, Zero Year, all the other ones. I think Jeff Johns overdid the Crisis when he did his Crisis stuff with Final Crisis. The old Infinite to Final was just like, they kind of killed the concept when it was basically just about, the Superboy Prime who was introduced in DC Comic Presents going crazy. Like that was a basic story, and they turned that into some big, huge monster story where it could have just been something that was a 12-part series, but they maximized it. Flash, Rose Gallery Crisis 3 times. It's just like they overdid it. So it's like you can keep doing it, but it's like, they might as well do like what was it? Like who's that guy? Like Starlin, Infinite Finale. Like but it's like ongoing, but it's never ending. That sort of thing. I'm not with it.
Now, DC has used Crisis, those type of things, to do these reboots or these resets after a certain point. And again, they're like, hey, let's do a Crisis. We know you're going to make some money on this. Okay, we can do a whole bunch of tie-ins, books. As much as people complain about the stuff, they still come out and they buy it. They do it. They complain, but they buy it. So they're going to keep doing it at the end of the day. Here, I mean, part of me is because I'm so unhappy about the stuff that I'm seeing going on. Like, yeah, reboot, start this stuff over because you guys don't know what the hell you're doing. But then on the other hand, it's like, hey, you've done this and you're still not getting it. You're still not getting it with the exception of one character. I mean, it's so bad as of this point. I think Action Comics is the longest running comic for DC Comics. Action Comics, I think the last time is at 1038. I checked Detective Comics. Detective Comics is somehow at 1043. And I was like, how the hell did Detective Comics outpace Action Comics? Action Comics should have definitely like at least a year on Detective Comics, shouldn't it? No, because that Detective Comics is coming out twice a month. Why? Because they're pushing the back. So it's like, okay, so this is just going to be what it is for right now until these guys, until like sales soften with that guy, this is pretty much just what it's going to be.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Well, I guess the only thing else to say with this one, the picture, it has a lot of the TV characters. So maybe it's something more for the TV CW thing, another Crisis. Because it has some of the movie characters, Stargirl, we got, Shazam, Aquaman. So are they trying to do a big merger of all the other things? But they already did a Crisis, so we've had some movie stuff. So why did you just pull back? You did the...
Another reboot of DC is just ridiculous. I mean, of all of them, I thought Marvel definitely needs a reboot, but they're just going on some wild stuff there. But depending on which vertical you're talking about, they have the X-Men, which they did a complete reboot of a couple of years, 2 years ago. They have the the Avengers, which seems to be running on whatever they're running on. Then you have the what do you call that? They're doing a whole bunch of new Eternal stuff. I guess that's more along the lines of in the Spider-Man
They
stuff.
reboot the X-Men though. They kind of tied it in. They gave you how it works together with the other thing, so you could have. Only thing that was X'd out was probably The Last Stand.
So I mean, I think this is just another way for these companies. Hey, we're doing everything again. Another marketing play. The same thing with Jonathan Kent. The same thing with the American. Oh, we're doing something different to try to refresh and try to do it. And a lot of times, it's like it just feels like you're just taking, stuff and just throwing it at the walls. And let's see what sticks. That's what it feels like.
They are.
And some things work, and some things don't. So.
Well, and this is historic. I mean, again, historically, this is what DC was notorious for doing. I mean, because again, with Superman, they were so protective of that character. They wanted a certain look and a certain this. You couldn't mess around with this character. It shifted to Batman. Batman's got that treatment. They're like, no, we don't want to mess around with this guy. We want people to know who he is. We want this guy to be recognizable. We don't want to shake stuff up. And so you get a lot more concentration on telling stories to bring people in, as opposed to events or controversy or turning stuff on its ear. The other characters, forget about it. It's like they act like these people are around because of like some happenstance at the end of the day. It's like, well, why do people read Green Lantern? You know what? We don't know. I got it. Why don't we make Green Lantern a mass murderer? That should bring them in. And you're like, no, that's not why they like the character. That's not the reason why they're coming in. Well, he's not selling, so we got to do something. We got to generate some buzz somehow. And it becomes very unfortunate, but that's what they do.
All right.
So, hey, if you like what you heard, everybody, give us a thumbs up, comment, spin a rack.
Out.